You may have seen recently that there's a trend on sites like Instagram and probably TikTok, I don't go on there, where an account will upload the same video every single day, uh, perpetually ad infinitum until they stop, or at least until the day that I'm recording this. Usually these are just very low effort memes, do the same thing over and over again. Think of the little shark that says, yeah, and they just do that over and over again. I have recently come across a page that takes this concept and does something really fun with it. It makes it an ARG, a web series, and it's very, very interesting because it starts very slow, but goes into some really fun and cool places. That page is called You Hit Metal 17 times underscore every day on Instagram. It is a page that I believe is made by Adrian Gray of Forgotten History. If you are familiar with that page, I believe that's him. The account only follows one account, and it's the Forgotten History page. That's what leads me to believe this. And this channel takes this trend and I think does something really interesting and really fun with it. It starts off slow. It starts off as a meme, but I would like to take this time to go through those videos, explain them, talk about, theorize, and bring you guys on this journey and make you aware, because I think it's some really fun content. Now, like many of the channels that participate in this trend, each of these uploads is named by day. So, for instance, the first upload is day 1, and the 5th upload will be day 5, and that's going to be how we refer to these clips. Instead of further talking about this, let's just go ahead and watch this first clip.
Mikaeli, you successfully hit metal 17 times, so you are now proud owner of this photograph of motorcar. I am happy. But property is theft, so you are now under arrest. Well enough.
So in this clip, we are introduced to an Eastern European man named Mikaeli. What occurs in this clip is Mikaeli hits a piece of metal 17 times, and he's pretty happy about it. And he's pretty happy about the fact that he also wins a car. Well, at least a picture of a car, not actually the car. He is then promptly arrested for owning property such as in a Eastern European country, probably around the time of the Soviet Union, and he's arrested and he utters the phrase, "fair enough," and the video ends. Now, despite us being on day 1, the next day we will take a look at is day 37. Now, you might think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but between days 2 and day 36, it is the same video and follows the same trends as channels of this type. It's the same meme over and over again, and initially I thought this was a really funny meme. The only reason that I know about day 37 is if you go into the comments, people will say, hey, go skip to day 37 since everything between then is the same. Now, a couple things I want you to remember is A, Mikaeli has this Eastern European accent. He hits a piece of metal 17 times. He wins the car, and the clip ends when he says the phrase, "fair enough."
Mikaeli, you successfully hit metal 17 times, so you are now proud owner of this photograph of motorcar. I am not happy. I'm sorry? I am not happy with it. You don't want the photograph? No. I've hit metal 17 times every day. I want 2 pictures of motorcar. Mikaeli, you cannot just break your time loop. There is a way to escape, but you are yet to find it. And neither is your older self. Well, no.
Day 37 is when things start to change. Watching our video, Mikaeli hits a piece of metal 17 times again. However, this time, Mikaeli is not very happy. In fact, he requests not only 1 picture of a motor car, but 2 pictures of a motor car. At this point, we kind of realize something is up. The host tells Mikaeli that he is aware of his time loop and that he cannot find a way to escape. From there, we are shown an older version of Mikaeli who has also not escaped the time loop. Now, clearly, this media has become self-referential. And at this point, I was just like, oh, well, they're kind of playing a joke with it. How these things are repetitive and it seems like a time loop. And I really didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was a clever spin. However, looking through these again, it turns out that this is a little bit more than a meta joke once we go to the next day, day 41. However, before that, once again, I want you to take note of how many times he hits the metal, and also that once again, the clip ends when he says the phrase, "fair enough."
You only hit metal 16 times, so I am sorry, but you'll go home empty-handed. Oh, what a shame. Mikaeli, everyone, I can just go. Yes, you just go through that, and you will. Yeah. So, let's see who our next contestant is on the show. Mikaeli, back so soon. I guess you are still trapped. I don't know.
So, in our next clip of day 45, mikaeli now only hits the metal 16 times. This causes him to lose the game, and he's told he is going to go home empty-handed. The host takes mikaeli off stage and gestures for the next contestant to come on stage. However, who comes on stage is once again mikaeli. He seems rather unfazed by this, and utters the phrase, "fair enough." Fair enough, once again, is the phrase that ends our video. All of these videos so far have ended abruptly with the utterance of the phrase, "fair enough." It would kind of seem that this phrase is the thing that resets the loop. That being said, let's watch the next episode, because the next episode is where things really start to get really cool and really, really interesting.
Mikaeli, you only hit metal 16 times. So I am sorry, but that sound can only mean one thing. I get to leave? No, it is time for the bonus round. Please, I want to see my... Mikaeli, can you name each of these objects? Fair enough. Square. Long square. Gambling cube. Welly. Silly factory. What is that? What is going on? No, there's not supposed to be there. Mikaeli, please come with me over here. Slight problem. I don't know.
Now, day 45 is where we start to get some really interesting information. The clip starts off very similar to the previous few days, where mikaeli only hits the metal for 16 times. Instead of losing the game, he is sent to a bonus round, where he is told to name 5 objects. A square, a rectangle, which mikaeli endearingly calls a long square, a gambling cube, which is a die, a willy, which is probably a third grade drawing of a penis, and the silly factory. We also learned that mikaeli has a family somewhere. Inside this time loop, outside this time loop, we don't really know yet. We also see a flash-up image. This image is really blurry. It's black and white, but it looks like some sort of medical facility, like inside a hospital, an operating table. There's a lot of like wires at the ceiling. It's kind of hard to make out, but that's where we are right now. Additionally, there is another pop-up that says, player hardware overheat, code overstim. Something has overheated. Some piece of hardware is no longer working because of some, what we can guess based on the code, overstimulation. Something is overstimulated, someone is overstimulated. Now, whether this is a piece of hardware that is particular to the game show itself or something else, we really don't know at this point. We also learn that the phrase fair enough in and of itself is not enough to restart the time loop. mikaeli utters this phrase in the middle of the clip and nothing happens. This clip continues on, unlike anything we've seen before, because usually they end with the phrase fair enough. The video continues, and once it is uttered a second time, the loop resets once again. This is very interesting because every clip prior has ended with that phrase, and now we're learning it's not an automatic endpoint. There's something else, or something else controls the endpoint that is not just that phrase. This is where things really start to get interesting, and where I kind of lost a decent amount of time working because I was just glued to what was going to happen next. So let's go to the next day, which is day 47.
Mikaeli, you successfully hit metal 18 times, so... I don't care. I just want to leave. I won't accept property, and I won't say fair enough. Shit. Oh, Mikaeli, it's so cute how you think that makes a difference. As you hit the metal 18 times, you get a special prize. Don't go. I wonder who it is.
What do you mean you can't? Wake him up! Wake him up now!
Who is it? Why are you keeping me here? What is your end game?
In this clip, mikaeli hits the metal 18 times, which causes him to win a special prize. This prize is a phone call where the host of the game show goes to a desk and picks up a phone. On the other end of the phone, there's a panicked woman asking why can't they wake him up. She sounds very distressed. However, we don't know who she is, and we also don't 100% know who she's referring to. However, we can probably guess that it's mikaeli. Mikaeli asks why he is here and what the endgame is, implying that he thinks that there is something or someone behind this that wants something from him. This clip ends with a frame of the loop ending. However, reading through this, you can tell that the loop, in fact, does not end. The reason being is the game functionality of this loop has been removed. Now we can connect two pieces of information, one from this clip and one from the previous days. There is some sort of game being played here, right? There is a player who we can assume is mikaeli and a game. All we know at this point is the game could be the game show. Once again, explicitly what the game is, we do not know. However, we've seen that it has failed due to overheat and can't end because effectively the game ending portion of the game does not exist. So our next day will be day 49.
Mikaeli?
A fire in the tech facility of Vale Industries, leaving 3 injured and CEO mikaeli in a comatose state.
Contained before emergency services arrived. It was controversial, facing multiple lawsuits for abuse of employees and reported illegal testing of experimental children.
Lee's partner, Gia Fields, isn't so sure. There's never been a fire before, and he's the only one who ends up in a coma. There's just something wrong about the way this has been investigated.
In day 49, we are introduced to Vale Industries. Vale Industries is a tech company headed by CEO mikaeli. At Vale, recently, there was a fire. 3 were injured. Michael, the CEO, is in a comatose state. We also see from aerial footage that shows the building where the fire occurred. You can also see some factories in the background of this image. In this newscast, we learned that Michael was very controversial. He had many lawsuits against him and was accused of abusing employees and also performing illegal experiments on his employee. It gets cut off. However, we get to hear that there might be some government application to this. At the end of the video, we hear a woman named Gia Fields, and she sounds very skeptical about the fire and the investigation into this fire. It is also mentioned that she is mikaeli's, the CEO's partner. From this clip, we learned that this company, Vale, is a tech company. Just from that, we can, assume there is some sort of relation to a game, right, or a player. Just by the name, Vale Industries is clearly hiding something. I think that's fairly obvious, regardless of it being the actual name of the company is Vale versus, just how this whole ARG/web series has been going so far. We also learned that there are legal experiments going on. We can guess potentially that mikaeli is a part of these experiments, / maybe he was caught in the fire. He is in some way involved in this company, either one of the deaths, one of the experiments, or potentially the comatose victim, mikaeli. Additionally, looking at this footage, we can see the building that this occurred in and the surrounding area has what appears to be factories. Now, the two things to note about this image is that the building looks relatively untouched, which kind of goes in line with what Gia was saying. She's very skeptical about this whole fire thing, yet we see the building and there's nothing wrong with it. There's no obvious indicators of a fire. It seems like she's onto something. Additionally, there are factories in the background. One of the objects that mikaeli was told to identify, and I believe it was day 41, or day 45, was what he called a silly factory. mikaeli definitely has some type of link to Vale, this company, and Vale has some link to his situation and this game that he is playing. Also, notice that many of the accents we hear aren't Eastern European. This is kind of my own maybe crazy thinking, but it's kind of just another indicator of obviously what's happening in the game is not real, so using information within the game to identify people doesn't necessarily make sense. That being said, in day 51, our next day, we'll get to go back and we will visit mikaeli and see what he's up to.
Mikaeli, as you hit metal so nicely today, you win special entertainment prize. Is the prize death? Even better, man reading out random numbers. 83279. I don't like it. Give it a chance, Mikaeli. It really picks up around hour 14.
Oh, where am I? There was a game show.
Just picture. Listen, can I get the passcode for Vault 3?
69398.
Thank you. Back to sleep.
No, wait.
Hello? Hey, Mikaeli, are you okay? This is not real life.
Day 51 starts out with mikaeli hitting the metal an unknown amount of times, actually. We don't know how many times he hits the metal, but based on previous days, it seems like the number of hits results in a drastically different loop than previous. However, we can't really confirm that right now. mikaeli wins a special prize, again, which is a man reading out numbers. Each of these numbers has 5 digits. The first one is cut off, but ends with either 83 or 33. The second one is 83279, Next is 50288, 41971, 69399. And the last one is also cut off. Only we can make out is 375. The man then wakes up in bed with a woman over him. He is confused, doesn't know who she is. However, she asks for a code to a vault, that being Vault 3, and he replies with the code being 69398. He is then put back to sleep, and we come back to mikaeli, who realizes that none of this is real. Secondly, or I guess next, as part of our little analysis section, the death comment is funny. I also think the hour 14 comment is pretty funny, in my opinion. There's some good humor in this series, besides for just the meta silliness of it. The numbers, we don't know what they mean. The only thing that we can really gather is one of the comments said that these are numbers in pi, which I guess technically a number is a number in pi, because pi is supposed to hold every number. But additionally, one of the numbers is very close to the Vault 3 code, being one digit off of 69399, with the code being 69398. Once again, we see references to the game. When mikaeli is pulled out of the game and wakes up in the bed, we see a game out screen, which is the third reference to this game, with the previous being the overheat and the loop the game mode not existing, and the game restarts when he is put back to bed. At this point, it is pretty obvious that Michael is getting ahead of myself. mikaeli is the person in the bed. We only know of one person who could potentially be in the bed, and that would be Michael, because he's in a comatose state due to the fire. That being said, and also just the names of Michael and mikaeli, it's pretty obvious that these are the same person, that Michael is in some sort of game that his company developed, and he is also mikaeli stuck in this cycle. Now, is that 100% confirmed right now? Not necessarily, but it seems like the writing is on the wall, that this is kind of obvious that this is where this is going. Things we don't know is why. Why did the fire happen? Why is he in a coma, besides the root cause being why did the fires occur that caused him to be in a coma, and who is that woman? Do those numbers mean anything? And what is in Vault 3? These are kind of the questions we have at this point. We will receive more answers in the next day, which is day 54. Day 54 starts out a little differently than the other one. We don't get to see mikaeli, but we start out with a video from Vail Industries, their slogan of which is "The fun never ends." This video runs us through a product trial for Mirage. Mirage appears to be a game that can take you into many worlds. Those being the Forest Battle, the Castle Grand Prix, Adult, a premium feature, and Custom, another premium feature. After we are shown what this Mirage game is capable with in terms of its worlds, we are shown the surgery of this is described to us. From what we can kind of gather from this is that this is a VR type of game that is played through some sort of ocular implant, probably not too dissimilar to something you would see in a general cyberpunk theme, but like something literally like Cyberpunk 2077. However, going through the rest of this video, we learn that these implants have issues such as overheating, which can be caused by overstimulation, repeating of a level, or bleeding from external stimuli. And there's also side effects such as nausea, confusion, impressionability, which is like being very suggestible. Verructas, which I don't know how to say that, but they're just warts, altered sexual inclinations, and regret. So from this, we've learned that Vale is a tech company, and it might seem like they're a game company making this ocular implant game called Mirage. There is a hidden frame that talks about AARU or AARVU. From what we can gather, it seems like AARU or AARVU seems like it is the name of the actual implant. It says that AARU is not available, but AARVU is available to terminal health patients. So right now, mikaeli / Michael is clearly has this implant and is inside a Mirage. Obviously, we can tell that due to the error screens and all that, but also because the person who wakes up in the bed, presumably Michael, is definitely suffering from some of these side effects, mainly confusion, because he wakes up not knowing where he is, which granted, that's kind of, a coma thing. But he's also incredibly impressionable, where we watch him wake up confused at who this woman is, doesn't know where he is, but when asked about a code, he immediately gives it up. So he's incredibly impressionable, and is willing to just do what someone who is a mass person in his room who could be a threat, he will just do what they want. Additionally, the overheating we can tell is due to this implant, probably from overstimulation of mikaeli not really know what's going on, potentially him in the outside world being stimulated, but also definitely because he's repeating this game show level over and over again. The only cause of overheating we don't see is bleeding from external stimuli, which we just don't explicitly know about. Maybe that could be something related to fire, but I don't think so. With the theories I have, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that's putting the cart before the horse, so to speak. Additionally, we get to learn about some of the creators and the legal team behind Mirage. Obviously, we have the creator CEO, Michael Lee, the person who's responsible for this system, who goes by Sam Penford, the person who performed the surgery, Chris Sullivan, something like that, and a bunch of people who are legal defense who I don't see as being important, or at least to my knowledge aren't important. We also had the hidden frames of the AARU and AARVU. We don't know what the difference between those two are, or if they are in fact the hardware itself. And we also see some pictures of surgery going on, some videos, some pictures. I can't really tell you what exactly they are, but I don't think they really matter. Besides the fact that this is probably Michael receiving the surgery. But definitely the theory would be that mikaeli is Michael, which is pretty obvious at this point. And the fact that someone's trying to get information from him in his bed while he's in this coma leads me to believe that there's some sort of nefarious reason why he's in bed, and therefore that someone started that fire, that it wasn't necessarily an accident, and that's why the investigation really doesn't make that much sense. Why is this happening? Who's behind it? Who knows? One thought in my head is that it seems like Vale's kind of a game company based on their slogan, where the fun never ends, yet they were doing illegal experiments that somehow related to a game company, which you can kind of extrapolate, hey, VR, government, that there's uses, there's utility there, but why is a game company doing this? And it seems like Mirage really is a game. So that's just kind of the initial theory for where we are right now. Once again, as you can think, we will have a new update in a few days, and that is day 57. So let's go look at day 57.
Mikaeli, you successfully hit metal 8. I don't care. I woke up, there was an outside world, and I am not Mikaeli. I am someone else. It was just a bad dream. Oh, Mikaeli, why don't we have some fun over here? Hit it, Grigor. What?
Mikaeli, I've known you so long, but you don't even know my name.
Why are you singing?
So maybe we've been doing it wrong, 'cause you and I are kind of the same.
I would like to leave because I am sad and I miss my family. Give me a reprieve. It's driving me mad. Hitting metal into life for me. 'Cause when you're stuck in a game show, life is tough. I can't work out this time loop stuff.
You won't be leaving us today.
So there's just one thing that I can say.
What?
Fair enough. You can't say fairer than fair enough. You can't say fairer than fair enough. You can't say fairer than that. Oh, drat. Everyone in time look fair enough. You can't say fairer than fair enough. You can't say fairer than fair enough. You can't say fairer than that.
Day 57. Mikaeli hits the metal 8 times. However, as we've kind of established, Mikaeli is not Mikaeli. We're pretty damn sure it's Michael. Mikaeli hitting this 8 times has caused the game show to change from a game show to what seems to be a musical. We see a message on screen that is directed towards Michael, confirming that Mikaeli is in fact Michael, and it says, "Michael, are you in there?" It's Gia. Now, if you remember, Gia is Michael's partner. That phrase is used very loosely, whether that's romantic or business, we don't know. However, the music starts playing, and it's pretty obvious the hosts notice this message and is clearly distracting Michael / trying to keep him busy. We don't know if the host is a real person or a part of the simulation. We don't know his name. He tells us this explicitly. But we don't know if this is an actual person or a part of the game. Unless the game is incredibly intelligent, it would seem that since this host is self-aware and is purposely trying to distract Michael, that it is probably a real person. As this song continues, which, by the way, is a banger, I want a full release of Fair Enough. That is going to be like the top hit on my Spotify. Anyways, another message appears on screen. This is message number 2, and it says, "I think there's a way out. We can use the bugs." This would make a lot of sense considering that a lot of the times that Michael comes out of this game, out of Mirage, it's due to some sort of issue, like the overheating, for example, right? So it seems like the plan to get Michael out is going to purposely cause a malfunction, an error in this piece of equipment in the game. Or I guess less of the game and more the actual implant, what we assume is the AARU. Causing an error in that is what will get Michael out of Mirage. Once again, with the repeating of Fair Enough, we see that Fair Enough is not the only thing that can reset the loop, considering everyone in the song is saying it. And a third message pops up on screen, and it says, "Sam is keeping you in there. Stay strong. I will find a way to get you out." So at this point, Michael, which we'll just continue to call Mikaeli Michael, because I don't want to accidentally mispronounce Mikaeli like I probably have 1,000 times, Michael is aware this is not real and that he's in fact trapped. Gia is somehow able to communicate to Michael within a simulation, and we really don't know how, but she's actively working to try to get him out. We're pretty sure the game show host is aware of this communication and is trying to make sure that Michael is unaware of these messages. Fair Enough doesn't reset the loop. The last thing that's interesting here is the mention of Sam. Sam is a reference to Sam Penford, the person who made this system, and it now becomes pretty clear that Sam is against Michael in some form. What the motivation is, we don't know, but we can wager the guess that Sam is probably behind everything, behind Michael being in Mirage, being in the coma, and presumably the fire, but what they want, we really don't know.
This is it. This is block 3, where the fire was. Don't know about you, but I can't see any fucking evidence of any fucking fire. Did they have to make it this creepy? So you work at Vale?
I'm an intern, so...
Wow. I kind of have a thing for nerdy guys.
Really? Oh, I'm kind of not going to talk about Mirage stuff.
Well, I won't understand any of it, so...
Yeah, that's true.
No, what do you
like
mean?
The game has a fail-safe so that the hardware doesn't get damaged if that happens.
That's so interesting.
Are you real?
Why don't you take me back to yours?
Well, I can just ask her, so... Mommy, do you have any condoms?
Oh my god, Dave. Come on. Come on. Wait.
Day 60 opens up with a title block that reads about a case report for the deceased Samantha Penford. So we've learned 2 things. Sam is a woman, being Samantha, and they are allegedly dead. I don't believe that's the case, but let's continue through day 60 before we tackle that. We find out that there was a fire at block 3, and there's a person that is investigating Vale via an intern working there. They sound like Gia. They're getting a tour. It is presumed that this woman is Gia. Mirage stuff is low-key, and the intern can't talk about it. It is not something that is really supposed to be open to the public. However, Gia is faking interest in him, and being a nerdy, computer science engineering intern, is very interested in the attention of a woman, which, as someone who at one point was in nerdy engineering intern, that kind of checks out. Not to his extent, but like, hey man, sometimes art mimics reality. Anyways, he starts talking about things he shouldn't, and he tells her that Mirage has a failsafe so the hardware doesn't get damaged. Kind of in a similar vein of, if your phone gets too hot, the battery gets too hot, your iPhone will shut down, or any phone. Overheating, protocols against overheating are fairly common. It wagers to make sense that this is also the same thing. Eventually, Gia is taken back home to this intern's mother's house, where they presumably sleep together. The video ends with Gia on a computer for Mirage having access that she shouldn't have. We learned that Mirage is classified. Additionally, we learned that existing ARU subjects are being used for experiments. Test subject 2 is in a custom mode, and that test subject 2 is disconnected from external hardware. Additionally, lunch is provided by the canteen between 1 and 2 p.m. I don't think that's important, but I felt the need to add that. So, don't be late to lunch. Once again, presumably we can guess that test subject 2 is probably Michael. There is a mention of external hardware. As far as we're aware of, we only know about the surgical implant, the ocular component. So we don't necessarily know what that external hardware is. Is the internal the AARU and the external is the AARVU? We do not know at this point. But it seems that there's some sort of other component to this system. What it does, if it's important, we really don't know. However, through this computer, Gia is able to get temporary admin insertion, which from this we can presume this is how she is able to speak to Michael within the time loop simulation. This also confirms the fact that the host is aware of the messages, because all admins are notified if this protocol is used, if this insertion is used. It also says something along the lines of interactions must meet scenario guidelines, and I guess it'd probably be pretty clear that Gia trying to communicate with Sam about getting him out of a simulation does not confirm to the idea of a game show. Allegedly dead. I don't think this is true, considering that Gia tells Michael in the previous clip that Sam is trying to keep him inside Mirage, inside the simulation. Additionally, there's some fun parallelism, if you want to call it that is happening. The code that the woman asks for in the clip where Michael's in the bed is Vault 3. There was a fire at Block 3, and the loop changes what appears to be at this point every 3 days. There might be some importance behind the number 3. Is that known? No, but I saw some people talking about it in the comments and figured I might mention it because it does come up a lot. We're pretty sure that Gia is investigating Vale via the intern. She does not believe in the investigation to happen. Now she's doing her own work and has used his computer and sleeping with him to figure out what's going on. Something that we can kind of guess from this is that I believe the host is an admin, and that is why he is aware of when Gia is communicating or trying to communicate with Michael. I feel like if he was part of the simulation, he would just kind of continue on, but the fact that it says admins know when someone uses this insertion tells me that he is an admin, and if he is an admin, he's an actual person. Who the host is, we don't know. Could this be Sam? Once again, I don't think Sam is actually dead. I think that's some BS. But unfortunately, this is the last. So by this extra section, you may have guessed I didn't get this video out on time when I thought I was going to. The upside of that is that we have another day to analyze, which is day 63. So I'm going to be quiet for a second, and let's take a listen to this clip.
Mikaeli, you have such a nice voice.
Thank you, I enjoy to sing. Maybe we can do a harmony. Fair enough. You can't say fairer than fair enough.
Mikaeli, I'm starting to enjoy our time together. Maybe I should tell you something about myself.
Michael, it's Gia. I know that name might not mean much to you in here.
How did you get in here? Gia, I remember that name.
I don't have much time, but there is a way for you to get out.
Silence. Remove admin. How do I get out?
It's called overstim.
Mute admin.
You need to overstimulate yourself. The game will pause.
How do I do it?
Physical exertion, loud noises, bright lights, bright colors, high temperature. But you won't have long. Samantha will have been noticed.
What a silly joke.
I know what to do.
Mikaeli, you have such a nice voice.
Thank you, I enjoy to sing. Maybe we can do a harmony.
So this clip starts off with Mikaeli and the host talking to each other, having a good time. Mikaeli says that he has a great voice. He does have a good voice. On a note, it's kind of impressive that whoever these voice actors are, or the people doing the voices, can sing actually pretty decently well with a fake Eastern European accent. Anyways, that's besides the point, because the host is about to divulge some information about himself to Michael when all of a sudden Gia appears in the game show. This makes a lot of sense. We saw in the last clip that Gia had gotten access to a terminal where she would be able to insert herself into the game scenario. Gia tells Michael how to get out of the scenario using overstim, something that we kind of inferred about from the last episode where she talked about using the bugs to get him out, and we've also seen that overstim causes issues with the game, so this makes a lot of sense and is just confirming a lot of the things we had talked about previously. One thing that is curious though is that the host, which we still don't know who this person is, tries to remove her from the game. Actually, what happens though is that the host receives an error for this. There's a flash on screen from the screen inside the game show that says the temporary player can't be removed and that they have priority. The host tries to mute Gia also, and he is unable to. Eventually, Gia is removed from the game, but it kind of makes me think that due to his failure to remove her as himself, that Gia wasn't removed by the host, but was maybe removed some other way or had to pull out of computer because the intern she's with woke up, for example. We don't know. Michael becomes aware of how to get out, and he seems pretty determined to do so. Another thing that is interesting, and might not be important, but is just kind of cool to note, is that I believe this is the first time we have seen a loop continue. In pretty much every other episode, when we come to Mikaeli, he's in a new loop, and when we see him next time, it's at the start of a different loop. I think this is the first time that we don't actually have a loop going on. It's just two consecutive clips of Mikaeli within the same loop. We've pretty much confirmed that Fair Enough doesn't cancel the loop. It's probably a manual thing by the game or by the host or someone else, but it's just an interesting detail that I noticed watching this a few times through. So that being said, we're going to move on to the theory section. So on to the theory section. I decided to re-record this. Granted, not a lot changes after day 63. It just kind of reinforces and confirms a bunch of things we've already seen. So in terms of theories, I have two, and they're effectively very similar to each other. The theories go that Vale Industries is just a game company making this Mirage game through these ocular implants. There are mentions of government experiments, and in this first theory, Michael is a well-meaning CEO, but he is not aware of these experiments that are going on behind the scene, probably to win some sort of government contract or money. These experiments are being headed by Sam. Sam finds a way to fake a fire and put Michael in a coma. Sam fakes her own death so that no one suspects her, and she's trying to get information out of Michael to either further this project or do something. For example, I believe the woman that wakes Michael up in the hospital bed is Sam, and she wants the code for Vault 3. What's in Vault 3? We don't know. And while all of this is going on, Gia realizes that none of this adds up, and she's doing her own investigation into things. The second theory is effectively the same thing. It just turns out that Michael is not well-meaning, and Sam has put these things into place to figure out all the illegal stuff that Michael was doing. And once again, Gia is still investigating because she realizes that things don't make sense and stuff does not add up. I believe that the first theory is probably far more likely. But yeah, that's kind of all I have right now. Nothing super duper deep, but things are being revealed to us at a pretty nice pace, and I'm excited to see where the rest of this story goes. So that's really going to be the end of the video, guys. This story, ARG, is pretty cool. I recommend you go watch the clips for yourself and continue to watch the new clips that come out and follow it yourself. As for me and this channel, I haven't uploaded on this channel in a pretty long time. This is generally not the type of content that I make, and I don't necessarily know if I'll make similar content to this in the future. There's a good chance that if this catches on and people like it, I'll continue to follow this story, but we just kind of have to see. I would like to make a quick shout out, even though this will probably go into the void and no one will hear it, and the person who's it about won't hear it. Definitely a big shout out to Wendigoon. This is a video that is very similar to his, but the reason I kind of want to toss a shout out into the ether is because I feel like by watching those videos, I have been better able and more willing to analyze media, especially media on the internet, deeper than I would just if I had consumed it normally. And I think that's a cool thing, learning from the stuff that you watch online. But besides that, like, comment, subscribe if you want to do those things. Feel free to comment about your thoughts or theories on this story in the comments below, and I will see you guys later.